Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And it seems that the SNP just cannot help themselves when it comes to cover-ups and secrecy. Now, claims are made, and when asked to back this up, they fail to do so. Because they daren't, because they know that the truth would be incredibly damaging, yet again. This time, it's the claim that they must go to court, they've got to tackle the UK government over the gender bill. They're saying it is the last option, it is the only option. It's not. Giving it up would be another option. And if they do give this up or change anything, then the Greens walk. I think Humza should call their bluff and let them walk, because I don't think they would. I think they've got their feet under that table and they're not giving that up without a fight. So let's have a look at this story quite quickly. It's not a big story, but it is something there. It just goes to show that, once again, the SNP cannot ever tell the truth. Here goes. So SNP government failed to back up Shirley-Anne Somerville's claim that costly legal action is the only way forward for gender reforms. These are reforms that nobody has asked for. 99% of people in Scotland don't want it. 99% of people think other things are more important. And certainly I think virtually everyone says that you should not be wasting money on a court case that you have been told undoubtedly that you cannot win. But that's not why they're fighting it. They're fighting it to keep the Greens on board. Exclusive. The Social Justice Secretary told Channel 4 News that launching costly legal action was the final option to push forward gender reforms after they had exhausted all alternatives. But the government failed to explain what these were. They were questioned and they couldn't say. Well, of course they couldn't say, because they're making it up as they go along. So Humza Yousaf confirmed that his administration would be taking the UK government to court after they moved to block the bill from becoming law. Scotland Secretary Alistair Jack highlighted that the reason he enacted the never-before-used Section 35 order was because the legislation affected UK-wide Equality Act. And they've got that right. That is part of the agreement. That is part of the devolution agreement. So they all knew that. And they all knew that it could be used. Now they're complaining it's being used. If you didn't like it, why did you join this parliament that you so vehemently disagree with now? It's very weird, isn't it? Anyway, the bill would allow trans people to legally change gender without the need of a medical certificate if they lived that way for a minimum of 3 months. They can't change that. Calling it that doesn't make it so. It has been one of the most contentious pieces of legislation in Holyrood history, with a number of women's groups speaking out against it due to fears it would erode previously safe female-only spaces, such as changing rooms and bathrooms, and our crisis centres, and DV units, and all the places that no man should ever be in. And it is a terrible piece of legislation. They are basically destroying every one of women's hard fought for rights. It's almost as though they deliberately target women because they don't like women. It's ridiculous. And it's the women in the SNP who are standing up and trying to defend this. Ridiculous, isn't it? When it was announced that the Scottish Government would be launching a costly judicial review into Section 35 decision, Miss Somerville was sent out to do media interviews to explain why they were spending taxpayers' money on this. Now, they're going to quote a figure here, and they're going to say it's £500,000, right? So I'll read this line. Some experts have predicted it will cost up to £500,000 for the court action, with Mr. Jack hinting he may well make the devolved government pay all of Westminster's costs as well. So it could well be well north of £1 million to fight a court case that they already know and have been told by their law officers that they cannot win. And yet still they are pushing it. And the thing is, they will not release the legal advice they were given. They will not release the costing of what all this is going to cost. Why the secrecy? Well, we know why. Because they were told they can't win it, and they were told it was a very expensive way of not winning it. Speaking to Channel 4 News, Ms Somerville described the judicial review as the only option to defend the bill, which is bull. She said the Scottish Government has given due consideration to other alternatives to ensure we didn't get into the place of having a judicial review. Unfortunately, the UK Government has left us with no alternative but to do so. So this isn't the place we want to be in. No. You have got other alternatives. One of the alternatives is to say, yes, it's a really bad piece of legislation. It harms women's rights. It does not advance the cause of any kind of decency for anyone. It is against UK law. And we know that it will cost us and ultimately the taxpayer over £1 million to defend what is indefensible because we have legal advice that says we can't win. So we'll abandon it. And then the Greens will go, well, you abandoned that, we'll go. And they say, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And then they'll just sit there and go, don't call our bluff. So we're calling your bluff, and they'll just sit there. Because they don't, the Greens will not give up their seats at that table. Because it's the only time they're ever going to have a seat at that table. There was also the reason given for not publishing the legal advice they took to launch the judicial review in the first place. During the SNP leadership campaign, Mr Yousaf promised only to take the UK government to court if it said it had the chance of winning. That's fine then. You obviously are taking them to court because you have a chance of winning. Let's see that legal advice. Let's see in that legal advice where it definitely says you have a chance of winning. And if you're not releasing that legal advice, it's because it doesn't say that at all, isn't it? Anyway, despite the predicted cost of £500,000 just for their side, the SNP-led government also refused to admit how much it had estimated the court cost would cost them, despite having done the sums on the maximum and minimum prices. The judicial review is expected to take over a year, with Mr Yousaf promising to publish how expensive it was once it had been completed. I don't believe him either. Man speaks with forked tongue here. You know, he is an absolute liar. He is lying all the way. He's looking at you in the eyes. He's smiling and he's lying. But that's the SNP way, isn't it? They can't tell the truth. They really cannot tell the truth. Even some within the SNP are against this action, with recent polling showing that 53% of Scots did not back the government launching the court proceedings. But it is understood to be a red line in the Butte House agreement, with the Scottish Greens threatening to quit the partnership if they were tweaked or dropped completely. Let them go. Let them go. Have the balls. Hamza Yousaf to stand up, show a bit of spine, have the balls and say to the Greens, look, if you don't like it, sod off. And they won't. Of course they won't. Maggie Chapman, the party's equality spokeswoman, even tipped off by Miss Somerville that they were launching a legal challenge 3 hours before the announcement was made. She wrote in an email that it was very good news. Not, I'm afraid, for the Scottish taxpayer. But hey, they don't mind spending money when it's not their money. Is it me, or does she look like she was born a man? Hey ho. No wonder what she's pushing for it. I shall finish there and come up. So there you are. People of Scotland, rejoice. You've just been handed £1 million legal bill on a case that they have been told they cannot win, and yet are pushing to go forward with it simply so that they can keep the losers in the Greens happy. It is definitely the case of the green tail wagging the little yellow doggy. And the little yellow doggy is a craven cur when it comes to this. They dare not stand up and say no, because they have no balls. They have no thoughts of their own. They have no understanding of what they're doing because they're all thick as champ. Anyway, I shall round off there and finish, and thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see in here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, definitely leave the like. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't vote SNP, they're all morons, and goodbye.